Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Caitlyn Monae, back with another nursing video. For all of my new subbies out there, my name is Caitlyn. I am 26 years old. I am a new postpartum nurse, currently still in orientation. I graduated from nursing school in December of 2020. Sat down for my first attempt at Nclex in March of 2021. Failed. Took it again in April of 2021, passed it, and literally started working in May. So it was a lot that happened, a lot that transpired in the past, 5-6 months. So I just want to say, for all of my new subbies, I love y'all, I appreciate y'all. I am amazed that my last video has reached and touched so many different people just on their journey of studying for Nclex. It's been a journey. I'm excited. And yeah, so that's like a little bit about me. So let's get right into what I wish I knew when preparing for Nclex. So the first thing is that the Nclex utilizes a computerized adaptive test. For everyone who sits down for the Nclex, that is the type of test that they use to determine whether or not you will become a nurse. So you're probably thinking, what is a computerized adaptive test? What is a CAT exam when it comes to Nclex? So I'm going to be reading off of the Board of Nursing site. So the NCSBN site shows and gives a breakdown of what the CAT exam basically entails. So it reduces the number of easy items that high ability candidates receive, and vice versa when it comes to difficult questions. It also improves precision of measurement of the Nclex candidate's ability related to nursing. And every time you answer a question, the computer re-estimates your ability based on all previous answers and the difficulty of those items. The computer then selects the next question that you should have a 50% chance of answering correctly. So that's just kind of like a quick breakdown of how the CAT is utilized when you are taking your Nclex. So in that, I also found a separate video on YouTube, of course, where there were two ladies that were breaking down exactly how it determines whether or not you pass. So there's like a passing line, and if you answer the question correctly, then you're 1 point above the passing line. If you answer it correctly again, then you're 2 points above that passing line. If you get an answer wrong, then you drop back down to that 1 point on above the passing line. If you are answering questions wrong, then you're kind of marking yourself down to be below that passing line. So the goal is to stay above the passing line at least 95% of your exam. So that means technically you could get 50% of the Nclex wrong, but as long as you are answering those medium difficult questions majority of the time, then you probably will pass the Nclex. But if you're not, then you're probably falling below the fail line, basically. So also with the CAT exam, there are different topics that they will test you on when it comes to Nclex, and those topics include management of care, safety and infection control, health promotion and maintenance, psychosocial integrity, basic care and comfort, pharmacology, reduction of risk potential, and physiological adaptation. Y'all. So within all those different topics, you kind of have to know a little bit of everything when preparing for Nclex. So in those different topics, I believe management of care was between maybe 6 to 10% of the Nclex, and pharmacology was 12%, and safety and infection control made up maybe 15. Don't quote me on those exact percentages of what the breakdown is. I think that's something you can also find on the Board of Nursing site. And so that basically sums up the CAT exam, and that's what you're going to be going in for when you are preparing to take it. Number 2 tips I wish I knew was test taking strategies. So yes, test taking strategies. When it came to the Nclex, I had to figure out what was going to work for me. I had to figure out a way on breaking down the questions. I feel like that is something I wish someone would have told me when I was using UWorld. So when I found out I didn't pass my first time, I used a Kaplan book, which was the RN Plus. I kind of talked about it in my previous video. So in that, it gave a breakdown of all the different topics and how to go about answering them. And one of the main things that I took from the Kaplan book was turning the question or making it into your own words, to something that you understand. And when doing that, when answering the question, you will know what it's asking you. Therefore, you will more than likely pick the correct answer. That's what helped me with Kaplan. That was it. So then I found out about Nclex High Yield Podcast. So yes, Nclex High Yield Podcast. I remember running across this one day. I was laying in the bed and I was on Facebook once again, just kind of looking at different people's testimonies and trying to just figure out what is going to help me with fasting. So watch one of their YouTube videos and I learned that the creator of Nclex High Yield Podcast had actually failed his Nclex multiple times. And in his video, he kind of talked about he needed to figure out a way on how to go about tackling the Nclex and figuring out a way on how to go about answering the questions. So one of his videos talked about the method. And just a quick breakdown with that, the method is a way or a test-taking strategy on how to go about answering the question. So when reading an Nclex question, you read the last part of the question first. Every time, read the last part of the question because that is what you are answering. Sometimes the beginning of the questions doesn't even really relate most of the time, or maybe sometimes doesn't relate to the end part of the question of what they're asking you. So read the end of the question first. Put that in your own words, go back to the beginning and read the rest of the question and you'll kind of have an idea of what it is that they're asking you. So once you break it down, put it in your own words, go back and read the rest of it, figure out what the situation is, then you go and read the answers from the last answer up into the first one. And yo, when I tell you the way I went about answering like my practice questions when using Archer, I was like, it felt like it was magic. I'm like, why the hell did I not know this before? Like, what the heck? So that was a game changer, and I appreciate Dr. Zishan. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, but I'm glad I ran across that video because, whoo child, I don't know, but I appreciate it. I'm telling y'all, if you're trying to figure out ways or just different test-taking strategies to help you tackle the Nclex, or just with practicing with the Nclex practice questions, whatever program you're using, utilize the method. That's what it's called. And also he has another test-taking strategy called AskGraph, but I can also just leave a link below and he'll just kind of go into detail with that and how to go about using that when answering questions. So number 3, you need to know the basics, y'all. You have to know the basics. Everything that you learned in nursing school could possibly be on the Nclex. So knowing your pharmacology, knowing all of the generic names, because the trade names will not be on there. Nothing but generic. Need to know the antidotes of medication. So know that naloxone is for opioids. And you also need to know that there will be medications that you won't know. So again, that's where the whole test-taking strategy of figuring out the bigger picture and figuring out what it is they're actually asking you, you'll be better off. Number 4 is the amount of questions do not matter. The amount of questions you get on the Nclex does not matter, okay? You can pass in 75, you can pass in 145, you can pass in 100, you can pass in 90. It doesn't matter. You can also fail in 75, you can fail in 145, you can fail in 90. So do not let that scare you. I would say that when you are sitting for your Nclex and you pass that 75 mark, if you need to take a breather or a break, go and do that, because you're still in the game. Like, you're still in there. You have up until 145. So if you're feeling anxious when taking it and you're just kind of feeling like, oh my God, like it didn't shut off, do not let that bother you. Like, do not let that cause anxiety, because then you will start answering questions. You might start second guessing, and you do not want to do that when you're sitting for Nclex. So take your time. If you need a break, go and do that, because you are still in the running. Show that computer that you know what you're talking about. Okay? Do that and you will be fine. So am I on number 5? I'm gonna just keep going down the list. So the next thing you need to know is keep the Nclex date to yourself. You do not want questions from your friends and family like, oh, did you take the Nclex yet? Or you have your Nclex is coming up, are you ready? Like, we don't need that. We already stressed out. So keep the Nclex date to yourself. If you want to tell someone, by all means do that. Just tell one person, maybe two, if you feel like you just need to tell someone. But my first time when taking the Nclex, I told my mom and maybe like one other person, like one of my close friends or something. And like I was fine with telling them, but then it also kind of felt odd and weird when I had to let them know that I didn't pass, because technically I told them when I was taking it. So I'm pretty sure it was like when I found out I didn't pass, I knew I was gonna have to let everyone know, because I had told a few people that I was gonna be sitting down to take it soon. So keep the Nclex day to yourself. Let that be a sacred time for you when preparing. Just let that be your own journey, okay? Next thing, go to the testing site prior to your exam. I say that because I have seen other people talk about how they got to the Nclex testing site and was late and couldn't get in and had to reschedule, just like a lot of weird things. If it's raining or snowing, you need to know where you are going so you can make it to your test date on time. For me personally, I actually did that my first time and my second time. Like I got there, drove out there on a random day, figured out where I can park, and that was it. I knew where I needed to go, so it wasn't a big deal. And it was also like a testing site that wasn't too far from my apartment. Next thing, the survey questions at the end. Y'all, you do not have to sit down, or you don't have to take those, okay? The survey questions is there just to determine, they're trying to figure out how they are about to change the Nclex, y'all. Basically, that's what the survey questions are at the end of the Nclex. So just say that your computer shuts off at 92 questions, right? It will shut off and then it will ask you if you want to continue on with survey questions. So those survey questions do not count against you for your Nclex at all. Those are just like literally survey questions. Like they're trying to determine whether or not they are going to be using those types of questions on future Nclexes, which I'm going to pray for all of the ones that will be taking their Nclex later down the line, because those case studies, I remember taking, I think I went through all of the case studies my first attempt at Nclex, right? So I had all 145 just for the Nclex in general, and then I had like another set of questions. I don't even remember how many questions there were, but I sat through all of that. And I'm like, yo, what is this? Like it was like case studies, and then there were like regular questions. And I'm just like, yeah, no. So then throughout my 45-day gap, I took the time, was doing research again, and I learned that you don't have to take it. You can opt out of taking the exam. You can click finish or cancel or whatever. Raise your hand to have the person who's watching you all to come and clear you out so you can go home. So I would recommend, if you are tired and you're just ready to go, you don't have to take those questions. If you do complete your Nclex, whether that be from 75 to 145, and you decide to take those extra case studies, survey questions, by all means do that, because I guess they do need to figure out if they are going to use that for future Nclexes, I guess. So yes, those are all of the tips, all the things that I wish I knew when preparing for Nclex. For those that are preparing for Nclex, for those who are trying to figure out what it is they need to do, watch this video, recommend it to a friend, because if I had these different tips, I probably would have been better off my first time around, but that's okay, because God put me here to help those out there who are preparing for it now. So good luck to you all. If you have any questions, definitely leave it down in the comments below. I love talking with you guys and sharing my experience with you all. So yes, happy studying. Take your time, one day at a time. You got this, and you'll be set to go. Bye.